Yeah.
On Syria too, John, Secretary Kerry has talked yesterday about Plan B regarding Syria. Is there a Plan B, and what is it?
Michelle, we have gone around and around
Yeah,
about
but
this.
2 weeks ago you said there is no Plan B. Yesterday, Secretary Kerry talked about the Plan B. We want to make sure that there is a Plan B, and what is this plan?
There has been over many weeks discussions about alternatives that it would be irresponsible for us not to be considering. Should all efforts to pursue a political solution in Syria fail, it would be imprudent for us not to be thinking about other options. But our focus remains on the plan that is being executed now and implemented now, which is to try to get at a political solution, to try to get the cessation of hostilities to be in effect nationwide, to try to get more communities the humanitarian access, or the access to humanitarian goods, food, water, medicine that they deserve and that they need, to try to bring the violence to an end, and to try to get in place, in accordance with the 4 now communiques and a UN Security Council resolution, a government in Syria that's responsible for and responsive to the needs of the Syrian people. That's the plan that we're working on. I mean, I don't know if you need any more proof than that, than looking at the meeting yesterday in Vienna.
And one more, the Secretary talked too about the 1st of August deadline. What are your expectations? What do you expect to start in
Well,
August
first of all,
1st?
I've seen some press reporting that this is a deadline. The Secretary has, from the moment that he first started talking about August 1st, which was in Moscow after meeting with President Putin, and in a press conference with Foreign Minister Lavrov, both men said that August 1st was a target. And he's been very clear ever since talking about that it's a target time frame. He's never described it as a hard deadline, but that the idea would be that by August we'd like to be able to have the framework for a transitional governing structure, if not in place, certainly in concept and approved and ready to go. That's the goal. And that's actually not that different if you go back and look at the original timeline that was set forth in the wintertime, in the 3rd communique. It's very much in keeping with that.
And do you think it's still possible to have this body ready by the 1st of August?
We're very committed to getting there. We're very committed to getting there.
And do you expect to solve the differences between the U.S. and Russia on the future of President Assad between the 1st of August target?
So there's a lot in your question there, and there's a lot implied. I would point you back to what Foreign Minister Lavrov said himself just a couple of days ago, where he said they're not. Their support is not for Assad as an individual or as a person. He said very clearly what they have pledged to do, and again, in keeping with all the communiques in the UN Security Council resolution, is pledged to set up a political structure that would lead to a transitional government that is Syrian decided by the Syrian people, and Syrian owned. And that what they want, and again, I don't want to speak for another country's foreign minister, but you can go look at the transcript yourself. What he said, what they want is they want to make sure there's a governing structure in place. We share that concern. I mean, there's a lot more that we agree here with Russia in terms of the political structure going forward than we disagree. And we have said all along from our perspective that Assad can't be a part of the long-term future of Syria, that we need a transition to a government away from him and towards one that, again, is decided by the Syrian people and democratically elected and can provide for a whole unified non-sectarian Syria, which obviously the Assad regime can't do. So I'd let the Russians speak for themselves in terms of their views with respect to Assad, but again, I'd point you back to what the foreign minister said himself. And if you're, the second part of your question is, well, are we putting a deadline on sort of resolving all the differences with Russia? No, we're not. We don't agree with everything with Moscow with respect to Syria. We don't agree with everything with Moscow with respect to lots of other places around the world, including Ukraine. But what's important is that we can continue to have the dialogue and the discussion, and that Foreign Minister Lavrov and the Secretary can continue to talk, and that the United States and Russia are still leaders inside the ISSG, co-chairs of the Cessation of Hostilities Task Force. That cooperation at that level, we absolutely expect to continue, as it must.
China?